Good evening and welcome to the In Focus Candidate Forum for Wayne County Superior Court 1. My name is Paul Whitty. I'm a board member with the Wayne County Area Chamber of Commerce. And we'd like to thank the Western Wayne News, Whitewater Community Television, and the Wayne County Area Chamber of Commerce for sponsoring tonight's In Focus Candidate Forums and the candidate forums presented past and coming up in the future. So tonight we are going to talk with Clay Miller, Ron Moore, and Austin Shadle, my apologies, and talk to them about why they are running for judge for Superior Court 1 in Wayne County. So start with you, Clay, and just ask why. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you decided to run for judge.
Thank you, Paul. My name is Clay Miller, and I'm an attorney here in Richmond. On the ballot, it's going to be a little bit more formal to be J. Clayton Miller. I have been practicing here in Wayne County for 24 years. My practice has been here the entire time. Here with two friends. Of the three of us, I'm the one that has practiced here continuously the longest. I have been involved in all the day-to-day stuff that Superior Court 1 handles. That would be criminal cases, divorce cases, child support cases, real estate disputes, personal injury kind of cases. So I'm in the trenches, so to speak, doing those kind of cases all the time. I'm a married guy. My wife is a teacher in Richmond Community Schools. I have two kids that are also students there. The reason why that I want to run for a judge. This is a career aspiration. When you're representing litigants in cases, you're trying to achieve a result for a client. Most clients have good motivation. Sometimes clients don't have the best motivations in a case, but as a judge, you are looking at trying to reach a just result, a result that's good for the community, good for the parties. And so I just think that that's an opportunity of an area that I would like to have the opportunity to serve.
Thank you. Ron, tell us why you're running and a little bit about yourself.
Thank you. Paul, thank you for having me here. I appreciate the Western Wayne News and the Chamber for sponsoring this, and it's a great opportunity for me to talk to people. I appreciate being here with the other candidates or gentlemen as well. My name is Ron Moore. I've been a practicing attorney here in Wayne County. I came to Wayne County in 1997. I've been practicing for nearly a quarter of a century. I'm married. I have two sons. My oldest son is a Wall Street attorney. My youngest son is a cadet at the United States Air Force Academy. We've raised our children here. My youngest son graduated from Seton Catholic High School. I'm a member of the St. Elizabeth Ann Seton community. I'm also president of the Wayne County Bar Association. I've been running my practice independently, and as a business owner and operator, I understand what it means to be invested in your community, not just from a business perspective, but also from a perspective of having represented a lot of litigants. Much like Mr. Miller and Mr. Shadle, we have an opportunity to help people and to be attorneys in our community where we have represented people in adoptions and litigation cases, whether it's civil or criminal, paternities and divorces and all of the routine things that typically happen in a courtroom, I've done. And I've acted as a pro tem, so I've acted as a judge in situations appointed by other judges. I've been relied upon by our community legal system by appointment for criminal cases, and even though I'm a private attorney, I've been doing those kinds of things for a very long time. I also feel like it's an opportunity for me to advance my career and to help people on both sides of the courtroom. We've been helping people on one side of the courtroom for a long time. Now it's an opportunity to help people on the behind the bench. So again, thank you for the opportunity, and look forward to talking to you tonight.
All right, thank you. Austin.
Yeah, Paul, thank you as well for hosting this forum. I want to thank WCTV, Western Wayne News, as well as the Wayne County Area Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event. I also want to thank the listeners, the folks tuning in to this forum and becoming better informed voters. and it's just a real pleasure to be here. My name is Austin Shadle. I'm currently the court commissioner for Wayne County 4D Court. So for those that might be unfamiliar with what that means, as a court commissioner is an appointed judicial officer. I'm appointed by 3 of the Wayne County judges and 2 prior judges that have since then retired. I preside over the court that establishes paternity and child support orders and then enforces those child support orders. So it's been a big responsibility that I've had for the last 4 years, and it's been an honor to serve Wayne County in this way and work with the existing judges. I was born and raised in Indiana. I've lived here my entire life, including attending Purdue University as an undergrad, earning a degree in business. I attended Indiana University, the other school for law school in Indianapolis on the IUPUI campus. That's now known as the IU Robert H. McKinney School of Law. I've been an attorney for approximately, well, will be 20 years this fall. And my wife is Lori Shadle. Her maiden name is Butler. She was born and raised in the town of Whitewater here in Wayne County. And she attended Northeastern High School, graduated from there. The 2 of us met at Purdue. We have three children that have gone through Centerville schools. So we just have very strong ties to this community, deep roots to this community. One of my first jobs in law school was working for a judge in Marion County, and he just was somebody that I really looked up to and inspired me to want to become a judge perhaps someday. And then when I got appointed, one of the judges asked me to succeed Judge Snow in taking over the 4D court. That really, I think, kind of put me on this trajectory to continue serving Wayne County as the next Superior Court 1 judge. So thank you.
Well, great. Well, elections for judges don't come up very often. And Judge Chuck Todd has been serving since 2009, recently retired, and it's a 6-year term. So if elected, what changes might the public and attorneys see in Superior Court 1? And Ron, I'll start with you this time.
Thank you. What I would like to start off by saying is that we have an excellent legacy of excellent judges in Wayne County. We've had, Judge Ranke and Judge Horn and Judge Van Middlesworth, Judge Colger, Judge Snow, Judge Todd, of course, Judge Holscher, and Judge Dolahanty have all been excellent judges in our county. And I think honoring their legacy is to realize that what we have is an opportunity really to continue that excellence. So what I would see, if I were elected, is to continue the excellence in the work that they've done in administering the court system efficiently, and I would really truly honor that system for them, for sure.
All right. Austin, same question. What changes would people see in Superior Court 1?
Yeah, I think if you do an honest assessment, taking that job probably takes a good year, maybe more, to really just get your feet wet and get your head around being a judge of a court of general jurisdiction. There's just a lot of law to cover. So really it would take some time. I think would probably be an easier transition for me, having already been a judicial officer, but it would take some time. I think one of the things that I foresee doing is really trying to be connected a lot more with the community. It's tough because it really is an isolating job, because you want to maintain the impartiality and independence of the court. You want to make sure that you don't have those conflicts of interest. And so oftentimes you tend, when you're a judicial officer, you tend to isolate yourself, but it's also very important to be connected to the community. And so I think outreach, I would continue. I'm currently on a Supreme Court committee, so I would continue serving on those committees representing Wayne County. I think it's important to have a seat at the table to impact the rules of court and those outreach efforts and helping the public gain an understanding of the role of the court system, the role of the judiciary, and how we can serve the community in that way.
Thank you. Clay, same question.
Sure, Paul. I actually don't anticipate much changes if I'm honored to become judge. Judge Todd has created a great legacy of being a just judge, of following the rule of law, and that's exactly what I would hope to do, is to follow the rule of law. So we are bound by case law, by precedent. So I would continue to hear cases fairly. I would continue to hear what people have to say. Perhaps the biggest change, and again, this isn't really much of a change, it's something that I know Judge Todd is working on, is that there's still some level of backup that goes back to COVID, when the courts literally shut down for a year. So trying to keep cases moving along and trying to help reduce that backlog. That's no fault of his, that's just the whole world shut down, as we know.
Right.
So.
Okay. All right, thank you. Austin, I'll start with you on this. It says, although you must follow the law, judges are afforded a lot of discretion. What about your experience as an approach to the law should allow the public to trust your judgment?
Oh, that's a great question. Judges do have a lot of discretion. I guess it really kind of depends on the case. But I think in my experience, what I've done for the last 4 years, for example, being a judicial officer, I've really been able to take my experiences. I think if you were to create a training program for a judge and put together what would be the ideal training program for a judge, I think my career will have mirrored that. I'm the only, I think, candidate that's been a deputy prosecuting attorney. And so I've been on both sides, both as a defense attorney and a criminal prosecuting attorney. As I said, I've done civil practice. I've tried civil cases to a jury. My wife and I even worked as a group home house parents. All that training that we had as group home house parents, one of the things I learned is you give a kid a glass of Kool-Aid, you let him drink the glass of Kool-Aid, all of a sudden you see a 12-year-old kid or a 13-year-old kid have a milk mustache or a Kool-Aid mustache. All of a sudden you realize the actual age of that child is much younger than their chronological age. So it's that type of experience, actually doing those things, which I think helps you have that type of exercise, that type of discretion. It just comes from experience.
Okay. Clay, same question. You get a lot of discretion. What about your experiences and approach to the law should allow the public to trust your judgment?
Well, one of the blessings, I suppose, of being in a county practice is that we get to handle all kinds of cases. And over the course of my career, I've represented people on both sides of cases. So I have, you have some people, especially in Indianapolis, that get specialized in one area. So maybe somebody who only represents people injured in a car accident, and they're really good at that area, but they don't know much about other stuff. But I've represented, again, parties on both sides. So that's given me the ability to see the big picture. I think a skill that a good attorney has to have is to know when your client has a good case or has a bad case, and what the good facts or bad facts are. And I think those are the same things that a judge looks at. What does the law say that we should do in this particular kind of case? Secondarily, in 2019, I became a certified mediator, and I took the training for mediation. And again, in mediation, you are trained to craft results that bring resolutions between opposing litigants. So those are all the skills I would bring to that.
Okay. Well, thank you. Ron, do you need to repeat the question, or?
No, you're good.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
You're right in that judges call balls and strikes, right? I mean, that's what they do. So when we take the facts of a case and we see the ball coming in, and whether it's a ball or a strike, those are easy, right? If it's straight down the middle as a strike, we can see that. It's a simple call. If it's in the dirt, we can clearly call it a strike, and then a ball, of course. And then, what's interesting, though, is that when you have those areas of discretion, if it's just a high outside, and whether it's, low inside, or, whether that's where the discretion lies in making those good decisions. And when you have a lot of experience like I do in doing a ton of trial practice and taking cases to trials, and when you have a lot of appellate experience like I do, those are the kind of things where, when judge, let me be clear, the court system here appoints me in cases to review what happens at the trial level, write briefs and analyze those things and send them up to the Court of Appeals. So when I'm looking at it from that perspective, and I've done a lot of trial work, and whether it's adoptions, divorces, and criminal cases, those trials happen regularly for me, and I'm in the courtroom a lot. It gives me the ability to know what happens in that courtroom and having the experience in that. And then you have also the secondary experience where other people are handling cases, and then at that point you take it from the review of the docket, review of the transcript, and then understanding how that actually goes to appeal. And when you're reviewing that, it kind of gives you a perspective of not just being in the dirt and in the trench, right? But you also get the view from 10,000 feet to be able to say, okay, this is the right method and manner in which a courtroom is done. But from a personal perspective, our experiences are really the lens that gives us the ability to apply the law in a fair and just manner, right? So you have lenses of experience that come from volunteering, from being on boards, whether it's Habitat for Humanity for me, or volunteering at Boys and Girls Club, volunteering at Scouts, being a soccer coach at Seton Catholic High School. Those experiences all apply in your life to give you the ability to apply it appropriately and using good discretion.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you all. Next question I have is, Clay, I'll start with you this time, is how do you intend to handle dealing with legal situations in which you have little or no experience?
Well, again, I think that comes from just the experience of being in a county practice. That is not a uncommon thing that comes in before us. I have a consultation with somebody, and wow, I've never heard that issue before. So you dig in, you do the research. One of the benefits that a judge has that maybe I don't have as a practitioner is you hopefully have good attorneys who have prepared their cases, that they've provided pleadings, they've provided motions, they provide legal precedent to support their positions. But at some point you have to just dig in and you have to learn it, and that's just part of being in the practice every day.
Okay, just rolling up your sleeves.
Yes.
All right. Ron, same question.
Yeah, excellent question, and it really is the culmination of a better than 2-decade career that you have a lot of variety in the case types that you do. Is it gives us an opportunity to really dig in and understand the law and a lot of things. And the question that you asked was, what happens if we have a case that we don't have a lot of experience in? We do rely upon. You don't live in a vacuum, right? And that's the great thing about Judge Dolahanty and Judge Todd retiring at a young age is I think and I hope that honoring their legacy, that they're still going to be around as senior judges, and we don't live in a vacuum. So you have mentorships with other judges, you have other judges you can bounce ideas off of. There's reliance upon the Judicial Qualifications Commission and the people who actually prepare documents and review and assist judges in making those answers. And then of course you rely upon the litigants and the attorneys they have. And there's a lot of pro se in the world, a lot of people who represent themselves coming to the courtroom, and that's a difficult process, but it's usually those kinds of cases that we do have a lot of experience in. So the answer is we don't live in a vacuum. You work with a lot of attorneys who are going to be very well prepared and give us the opportunity to then analyze the law. And quite honestly, we're dedicated. We're dedicated people. We put a lot of hours in. It's like winning a pie, you being in a pie eating contest and the prize is more pie. Yeah, we're the kind of people as a type A's that we work a lot, and our families probably can attest to that. But that's the reason why we're here, and it gives us the opportunity to really dig in and work hard.
Okay. Austin?
Well, I agree with both these gentlemen's answers, but I'll also add, as a judicial officer, as a judge, you have access to the Indiana Office of Court Services. So the Indiana Supreme Court actually has a lot of resources for judges. They publish what's called bench books. So if it's an area of law that you're not really familiar with, you have an access to that bench book. That's actually put together by different committees of judges that serve on those committees and help put those bench books together. And like these gentlemen said, and Mr. Moore said, you can reach out to other Indiana judges. Certainly we have access to our own legal research databases, our own legal research law library. And the Supreme Court also gives us access to staff attorneys. So we can actually call staff attorneys, give them our legal issue. Certainly when you have 92 counties and you have multiple judges in those counties asking those same questions, oftentimes you call those guys up or gals and those attorneys can just email you a legal brief of very bright people, legal brief of research they've already done for other judges. So there's just a lot of resources for I guess, novel ideas. And then sometimes you have to borrow from other states, other courts from other states, and try to borrow from those court opinions on kind of new issues, novel issues. So,
Okay, thank you. Ron, how much flexibility does or should a judge have in applying the law in order to achieve a more just solution for the parties?
Yeah, thank you, Paul. The reality is that the law is a jealous mistress, and that we have certain obligations that the law requires us to do, and it puts us in a position where there's often a structure and the discretion that we have to create just resolutions is really going to be borne by a judge's personality, by a judge's ability to encourage the parties to meet a resolution that they can be a party of, right? Quite honestly, the people who go into the courthouse are not healthy, right? They're people who have problems in their lives, and it's usually born as a result of their inability to get along with the other litigant, whoever it might be. Or oftentimes, they're a victim, or they're somebody who's committed some type of an offense. But the reality is that the personality of the judge gives us the ability to encourage people on both sides of the room to work together. So how does a judge's discretion, or how does their ability encourage a just resolution? You tell them to go back to the working, right? Go back to work. Go back to the drawing board and see if you can work this out. You give them tools, you give them mediation, alternative dispute resolution. You encourage them to go back and try to work things out. So that's the best way, is to take it, quite frankly, out of the judge's hands, out of the jury's hands, and making those decisions, and make the decision themselves, but by parties actually working together, as opposed to a judge actually making the decision for them. Sometimes we do, right? Sometimes judges have to make those decisions, but at the end of the day, the best way to make parties and litigants happy is to make them, encourage them to resolve it themselves.
Okay. And Austin, again, how much flexibility does or should a judge have in applying the law in order to achieve a just solution?
well, I'm not going to answer how much flexibility a judge should have. Certainly, the law gives us a certain, as Mr. Moore said, it gives us a structure, and we have to follow the law. We take an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Indiana and the laws of the state of Indiana. There are three branches: the executive branch, the legislative branch, and the judiciary. And we don't get to make the laws. Most of the time, those are made by the other two branches, mostly the legislative branch. We have to follow it. Certainly, there are occasions where I'd love to have a lot more flexibility than I do have, but in the end of the day, we don't get to create our own law. We have to follow the law as it's written, or as it's given down to us from the either the Supreme Court of the United States or the Supreme Court of the state of Indiana, or the Court of Appeals. We have to. We're bound by those decisions and bound by that law.
Okay, thank you. Clay, same question.
Sure. Yeah. I don't disagree with anything that either Austin or Ron have said. As a judge, litigants want to know that they've been heard. They want to know that they had their day in court. They want to know that they weren't ignored. So as a judge, you listen to what they have to say. You take the facts that are before you, and you apply the law as it is. And there's really probably not as much flexibility as a lot of people would think. Our job, as Austin said, it's not to make the law, it's to interpret the law. So now, is that you for example, on a case where people are fighting about, for example, parenting time, does the non-custodial parent get every weekend or every other weekend? I mean, judges get into stuff like that, into the weeds, but big picture, we're bound by the law. We have precedent. We have cases, statutes that we have to follow, and I'd be committed to doing that.
Okay, thank you. All right, Austin, I'll start with you on this question. When the state of Indiana brings criminal charges, what is a judge's role in determining whether there exists probable cause for the case to proceed?
I'm sorry,
Yep.
ask that question.
When the
please.
state of Indiana brings criminal charges, what is the judge's role in determining whether there exists probable cause for the case to proceed?
You have to read a police officer's probable cause affidavit, look at those facts, and determine if a person in that police officer's situation would have articulable facts to believe that criminal activity is afoot, meaning it's likely that it happened. At least there's cause to believe that there was a crime occurring.
Okay. Clay?
Sure. In Indiana, all crimes are defined by statute, and each crime has elements. All right. So, a probable cause affidavit by a police officer should state facts that support each one of those elements, and the judge should be able to look and check off this element exists, this element exists, this element exists. If an element's missing, then the judge should not find probable cause. But hopefully, you know, the officer and the prosecutor putting the affidavit together have done their work properly, which they almost always do, and they establish those elements.
Okay. Ron, will we repeat the question, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. It's when the state of Indiana brings criminal charges, what is the judge's role in determining whether there exists probable cause for the case to proceed?
Yeah, that is what we call an ex parte procedure. I'm sorry, it's done in camera, so there's only the judge. There's no parties involved, and the judges review that probable cause affidavit that's prepared by usually a police officer and signed by the prosecuting attorney. Again, it's reasonable articulable suspicion that shows that some type of a crime is afoot, and each element of the crime has to be listed out in that probable cause affidavit to determine that there's probable cause. It's a relatively simple question. That really illustrates. But the judge's role in that is to look at the document and the four square corners of that document and to determine whether or not there's enough facts there to move forward with the case, and for so far as probable cause is. Now, probable cause is then used to determine whether there should be bond, because if there's no probable cause in a case, the prosecutor can still proceed. Okay, they don't have to dismiss it. They can still proceed and try to fill in the blanks later through their pleadings or through the evidence, through talking with officers and other evidence. But all that probable cause determination is whether or not someone should be held without bond or with bond, right? Or if there should be no bond required. So if there's no probable cause found by the judge, then there's no bond required and they can go free at their liberty. That does not mean the case gets dismissed. But if there is probable cause, then the judge is obligated at that point to set a bond, unless it's an extremely serious crime.
Okay. That kind of leads into my next question, Clay. Recently, Indiana saw reform to its bail policy. Rule 2.6 of the Criminal Rules of Procedure states that if a defendant doesn't pose a substantial risk of flight or danger to self or others, the court should release the defendant without requiring bail. What are your thoughts on this policy, and is it good or bad for our community?
I don't know that it's my place to judge whether that's a good or bad policy. It is what it is, and it's a rule that the Supreme Court has adopted. So again, when we've talked about precedent and being bound by the law, that is one of the things that Indiana law says that we have to do. So again, my job as a judge will not be to determine what I think the law is. My job is to take what the law is and interpret it and deal with it accordingly.
Okay. Ron, do you need to repeat that question?
I'm good. The bail reform is interestingly created. The objective for that was to actually put judges in a position where they have more information, Paul. And when the policies that were created again by the higher courts, and we're not again talking about whether the policy is good or bad, but just simply to implement that, we have in our county typically again determining the seriousness of the offense, the flight risk, the likelihood that the offender is going to be a danger to the community. Those things are all certainly important. But what we have determined and what we've seen is that When someone now is arrested and they're sitting at the jail, there is an assessment done while they're at the jail, and the jail then, the probation department then submits to the judges a report, and that report is given early. That early assessment then gives the judges the ability to look at it and to see, okay, this is their ties to our community, this is the types of cases they've been arrested on before, they were on probation already, they're on parole, they've had prior offenses. Those kinds of things help the judges to make better assessments. So the reality is that while judges certainly have the discretion still to set the bond and set the policy, set the bond amount, the bail amount at an amount that is still commensurate to their risk and danger to the community and their flight risk. So the answer to that question is yeah, the policy's there, but it still has that is one of the areas where judges still have the discretion to set the bail and bond amounts at something that they feel is commensurate to that particular offense.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's what I would do.
Thank you. Austin?
Yeah, I guess putting flesh to the bones a little bit more. I think, of course, the biggest concern to the community is if somebody has already been accused of a crime. Of course, they have the presumption, the benefit of the presumption of innocence. But if they're out on bond or out of on what we call their own recognizance or an OR bond, not having to post a bond, and they are rearrested for another offense, certainly I think that warrants a higher level of concern to the community. And also, if somebody's appears to have a substance abuse problem, fentanyl is certainly an issue in this community and other communities like ours. And so sometimes you're even concerned for that offender's or alleged offender's own health and safety, because it happens where somebody may go to jail for a period of time, get out and reuse, return to use, and overdose. And so it's not always you're worried about the community's safety, but you're worried about that own person's safety. And there's a lot of more detail about even those factors when we're determining bond. For example, what does it mean to have ties to the community? Certainly the three of us have, we've talked about our ties to the communities, but how long have they been here? Are they homeowners? Are they renters? Have they recently moved here? We have the added, I guess, complexity or difficulty being a border county with Ohio. So there's a lot of folks moving in and out of Ohio. So we have to really sort through those issues, because if they live 20 minutes away or even 5 minutes away over in Ohio, are they part of our community or not? So sometimes those easy determinations aren't really so easy. You really have to take a lot of just careful study and consideration of those issues.
Okay, thank you. Ron, this kind of ties into ties to the community, people having ties to the community or not having ties to the community.
Right.
So if an undocumented person were to be arrested in Wayne County, what happens to them under the federal policies now in place, and how would you like to see this particular situation handled?
Yeah, well, as a trial court judge, the reality is that we still have to apply the law to those facts that we know, and the same assessments would occur. So if they've been, if they're an undocumented person who has come and has at our jail and been arrested for something, and we take a look at it from the same perspective. Now, we don't make decisions on the federal law and what happens at the federal level, so the question is not really too applicable to what happens at the trial level, but in the state courts. But what we do is we do the same thing that we were just talking about before. We look at those assessments. We look at what's been handed to us by the probation department in the early assessment about whether they're a flight risk. And certainly if they are a flight risk because we didn't really know who they are, or if they have no ties to the community, or if they're undocumented, do they have relations here? How long have they been here? What kind of job did they have? What are they doing? There's still an assessment that has to be done that honors, the court's ability to look at, if they have those ties to the community, if they are a flight risk, and you set the bond accordingly. We have this notion of what bond should be based on the level of the offense, whether it's a property crime, whether it's a crime against persons, whether it's a drug crime. That gives us kind of some perspective of how cases should be set as far as the bond level goes. But then what we do is we take a look at the nature of the offense and the offender, the alleged offender themselves, and we see where they're at. And that doesn't change anything with respect to them being undocumented, except for the fact that we then probably have to consider really their ties to the community a little bit more in depth in assessing what the bond should be. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you. Austin, did you repeat the question?
Yeah, if you would please.
Certainly. If an undocumented person were to be arrested in Wayne County, what happens to them under the federal policies now in place, and how would you like to see this particular situation handled?
Yeah, I guess my initial thought is I'm not really sure what the federal policy is and how it's being handled currently. When I was a prosecutor in Marion County, it changed. It seemed on a weekly basis. We would have some folks that would be arrested, placed in the Marion County Jail, and then they would be deported or sent up to Chicago to a federal facility waiting deportation hearings before we even got to try them. And then that seemed to change. And so I'm not entirely sure what the federal policy is with respect to our local area. I don't think it's really appropriate for me to give an opinion about how I think that would change, but I think certainly one of the great things about being a judge is Chief Justice Loretta Rush, who is a Richmond High School graduate, our Chief Justice of our Indiana Supreme Court. She says one of the things that we have as judges is the power of being conveners, and that means reaching out to the right people that have an interest in these policies, bring them to the table and just ask those questions. What is your policy? And let them know how that affects us locally in our community, and then see if we can affect some type of change if there needs to be some change. So I think the wonderful thing about being a judge is it does give you that opportunity to be a convener, bring those interested parties to the table, and I think that's an interesting question.
Okay. Clay, do you need me to repeat the question? Okay.
No, I
Thank you.
think I'm good. So there's really two ends to this question. So the first part of that question goes back to your previous question to us about setting a bail or setting a bond. So again, a person's ties to the community, what kind of record that they have, are they a threat to the community? Because we do have to remember that at the beginning of a case, every person is presumed to be innocent. So just because somebody's charged doesn't necessarily mean that they committed an offense. On the back end, Superior Court 1 handles, in the criminal world, only handles felony cases. All right. So if you look at federal law on immigration status, crimes of moral turpitude, I believe I'm saying the word correctly, turpitude, are offenses that can affect a person's immigration status. And one of those crimes is a crime that's punishable by a sentence of 1 year or longer. Well, all felony cases are potentially sentences of 1 year or longer. So if a undocumented person is convicted of a felony, one of the things that I would like to see happen is that at a sentencing hearing, the courts prepare, the probation department prepares what's called a pre-sentence report. It gives the judge all kinds of information about the person. And I would like to see part of that pre-sentence report process be to give notice to immigration officials that we have a person who is either pleading guilty or has been found guilty at trial of a felony offense, to put the federal government on notice.
Okay. Thank you. All right. I figure who I started with last time. Austin. The goal of sentencing is to encourage reformation and not to punish a defendant. With that in mind, how do you feel our system is doing in that regard, and what role can a judge play in that?
It's tough to evaluate, I think, how our system is doing. And the reason I say that is, in a lot of cases, we're in the odds-beating business. And what I mean by that is oftentimes people that find themselves in the criminal justice system are really a difficult population to reach in a lot of ways. They have a lot of challenges, whether it's employment, unemployment, mental health challenges. It might be that they already had a criminal history and they're trying to rehabilitate themselves and had some challenges. So I think when we do that, it's worthwhile. There are a lot of good rehabilitative programs in the Department of Correction. I'm sorry, ask that question again about the...
Well, just the goal of sentencing, encourage reformation and not to punish a defendant. But with that in mind, how do you feel the system's doing in that regard, and what role can the judge play?
Yeah, I think we have some flexibility in sentencing, whether we're going to certain parts of somebody's sentence can be suspended, meaning we can suspend their sentence instead of going to the Department of Correction and serving that time in prison. They can serve it on probation. I think our probation department does a wonderful job. They're very well trained. I think they do a fine job. That's why Mr. Miller Clay mentioned the pre-sentence investigation report. The probation department is responsible for producing and writing that report, and that information can be oftentimes very helpful to do that assessment. And I think that assessment's what's really important in crafting what sentence best fits that person and what might help them on the path to rehabilitation.
Okay, thank you. Clay, do you need me to repeat the question? Okay.
I think I've got it.
Okay.
So one of the things that people don't realize, the public doesn't realize, is virtually every criminal defendant who is found guilty of a crime is going to come back out into the public at some point. Very, very rarely does someone get sentenced and, you know, we throw the key away. Okay, so one of the things that a judge has to keep in mind is that we're all concerned about recidivism. I think everybody in here is concerned about recidivism. So when we look at the facts that led to the crime, are there tools at the judge's discretion? I mean, certainly an easy thing is we're going to put this person in the Department of Correction and forget about them. Well, a lot of times that doesn't solve a problem. So is there substance abuse rehabilitation that they can participate in while they're on probation, or there substance abuse programs at the DOC that can be recommended? Are there mental health treatments? And it's not lost on anybody that mental health lack of treatment is a big issue, and that's something that certainly has to be addressed. And I think all the judges struggle with how do you deal with somebody who has legitimate mental health problems, because mental health issues and substance abuse issues, they're linked in. Almost all my clients that have substance abuse issues have some mental health issue that goes along with that. So how do you treat those issues? Because those issues then percolate into theft crimes or sometimes crimes of violence and things like that. So how do we address those underlying issues? And that's a tough question.
Yeah. Ron, we're running short on time, so
Yeah, no, we're
I
good.
apologize. I want to give time for everybody's closing remarks and closing comments. So
We're good.
you
I'll
can
be real
address-
quick. I
Okay.
mean, the reality is that the Indiana Constitution does have an obligation for reformative justice. It means that we're mandated to do it because it's directly in the Constitution. And that because of that, while we certainly want to uphold the law and protect our communities and make sure that it's safe, we also have a mandate, constitutional mandate, to help people to become better.
All right.
So
Thank you.
thank you. So I'll honor your time.
Yeah, no, much appreciated. So Clay, I'll start with you with closing remarks and comments. You know, got about maybe a minute to a minute and a half, so per
Well,
person.
Again, thank you to WCTV, Western Wayne News, and the Chamber for hosting us. The election process is a really strange way to apply for what I consider to be my dream position. So this gives us an opportunity to reach out to the community in maybe a way that we don't otherwise get. So I believe that my 24 years of experience being in the trenches, doing the kind of cases that are before the court every day, makes me well suited. I'm coming to the court with what I call my 3 core principles, which are to act justly, to promote resolution, and to serve humbly. Those are what I'm committed to. And I am asking for your vote for Judge of Wayne Superior Court 1. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Clay. Ron?
Thanks, Paul. First off, I'd like to say thank you again for the opportunity to be here. Thank you very much for giving us this opportunity. When given this opportunity to come and talk to people, I just want to say thank you for those of you out there who are supporting me already, and I would appreciate the vote for all of you who have not yet made a decision. You know, my beliefs are that it takes a strong conservative leader who preserves family values and upholds the rule of law and puts the community in a position where it can be safe and whole, and yet still do so in a way that honors the family and honors the obligations of a judge to call those balls and strikes in a way that really is meaningful and can still give us an opportunity to be good judges. And my experience, my dedication to the law. I'm a servant to the law, and I've always been so. And I feel like this has put me in a position where I could be the judge. And I really hope for your vote, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Austin.
Yeah, thanks again, Paul, for this opportunity. I appreciated this conversation, and thank you to these gentlemen as well for participating in this conversation. And you know, I want to circle back maybe to one of the questions that ask about a judge's exercise of discretion. And one of the things that I wanted to mention that I think it's important to bring to the table is just the aspect of humanity and just having a heart for other people. And ultimately, we don't make decisions based upon just these black and white facts on pieces of paper and processing cases and moving on to the next case. You really have to understand that our decisions are heavy decisions that impact people's lives for a long time in either a positive way or a negative way. And so we really have to understand with the utmost, I guess, respect and humility that what we're doing really has a big impact. And it may be something that the rest of the community has no idea what we're doing, but it means something to the folks that are in front of us and the folks that are in the gallery. And so I think there's a saying that cruel justice is no justice. And so justice really that with heart and with a lot of love for other people in our community is kind of what underpins everything that a judge does. And I would love to have that opportunity to serve Wayne County in that way. So thank you.
No. I want to thank the three of you for putting your name on the ballots, running for judge, running for your dream job. And you know, and thank you for what you do every day, supporting our community and people in our community. So thank you very much. I want to ask the viewers to stick around for just a little bit. We got an exciting event from the Chamber of Commerce, so please stay tuned. Thank you.
The upcoming April 8th total solar eclipse is an exciting once-in-a-lifetime event, but it's important to get yourself ready for the big day. Aside from getting certified eclipse classes in advance in case supplies run out, there are many things you can do to prepare. With 50,000 visitors or more expected in our community, there will be a number of disruptions and delays, traffic being the most obvious. Visitors may be lost or driving slow. Leave early to your destination and plan to stay late, or if possible, do not leave your house at all. Expect long lines at gas stations, and some may even run out of fuel. Days prior to the eclipse, make sure your gas tank is full or your EV is fully charged. Grocery stores will be very busy and bare shelves are a possibility. Have sufficient food, drinks, and supplies such as batteries. You should also get your prescriptions filled well in advance and stock up on provisions for any animals in your care. And when dining out, expect much longer lines at area restaurants. And be reminded, many area businesses are closing early or will simply not open. The eclipse should be a fun, exciting, once-in-a-lifetime event, and following these simple guidelines will not only help you, but those who are visiting our community.
Hi, I'm John Duke with Wayne County Emergency Management. Spring weather is here. For the most current local updated information, we encourage everyone to sign up for public alerts through Nixle. The easiest way to sign up for Nixle is text 888-777 in the to field of a text message, and then enter your zip code in the body and hit send. For the most current information, whatever the situation may be, we encourage the public to sign up.
Welcome back. With me now is Melissa Vance, President and CEO of the Wayne County Area Chamber of Commerce, and Chantel Baker, Director of Membership and Education. Thank you both for joining us this evening.
Thank you for hosting. Yes. It's kind of nice to be in this seat and not that one.
We'll see about that. All right, so Melissa, tell us about this new local event coming to Wayne County. And first announce it and what's coming and how the chamber became involved.
Well, we are really excited about this. It is the National Civics Bee, and it's an initiative by the U.S. Chamber. They piloted this a couple years ago with just a small subset of chambers, and the whole goal is teaching students about civics. How does the government function? And they decided it was a success. They wanted to roll it out nationally, and so this year we have 28 states participating and several sites around each state. And so we're one of 8 in our state hosting, and it's just an exciting thing. This is for middle school students to participate, and Chantal can tell you more about all the details, but really just let's get students involved and educated early so that by the time they're ready to vote and participate in this process that we've been talking about, they'll know what they're doing.
They're educated.
Yes.
Educated in the process.
Yes.
Yeah, so Chantal, tell us who is eligible to participate in this and how were they able to enter the process?
So any middle school age student, grades 6th, 7th, and 8th, it was available to public schools, private schools, homeschool, anyone 6th through 8th grade. So the way they did it, the first step was to apply with an essay of 500 words or less. And they had to choose a topic that was related to civics, something that was important to them. Once they submitted that, we had 14 judges, and then they went through those. A lot of good essays. Our students are very concerned about their community, so
Yeah.
it's a lot of good stuff.
Oh, very good. So how many entries were received in total, and did all the schools in the area participate?
We had 94 essays, which was amazing. We really did not know what that looked like for the first year, so that was excellent. We had 5 out of 6, and then we had another private school enter. So we had quite a few enter this year.
Oh, very good. All right, and Melissa, what can you tell us about the main event that's happening on April 19th?
So this is the big event for us. These students their essays have been scored and narrowed down, so we have the top 18 students identified. There might be 2 more added to that, so stay tuned for that. But at least 18 that day. They're going to come here on the IU East campus where we sit right now, and we will be in Vivian Auditorium with an audience. Rick Duncan is going to host that night, and then we have some of our elected officials that are going to be judges. But it's going to be a fun night. It's open to the public, and we really want people to come out. Wear your red, white, and blue. Bring your signs. Let it be something that's really cheers these students on.
Yeah. And Chantal, there's steps beyond this local competition. Can you tell us what happens next? How many students will advance to the state competition? And then how many from Indiana will advance to the national competition?
So after the competition, we'll have 3 winners, and then those 3 will move on to state, which is in August, and it will be at the State House in Indianapolis. After that competition, the first place winner will then go on to nationals, which is in DC in November. So each state will have 1 representative that will go to nationals.
And these students are going to win cash prizes.
Yes.
So here at the local level, the top 3 students are going to win 500, 250, and 125 will be the cash prizes just here at the local level. And then there are opportunities for cash prizes at the other levels too. So kind of an exciting thing. Not only do they walk away with a feather in their cap, but some money in their hand.
A little cash in their pocket.
That's right.
So how did this cash become available? Who sponsored the prizes?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we got a grant from the U.S. Chamber to run this program for the first year here in Wayne County, but along with that, our chamber is so well supported by our members. We have a number of partners that have put money toward this project just to be able to, we're providing all of the students that are finalists with tablets that they will get to take home with them. So they all get get to walk away with something. But again, it's our local business community is amazing. Just stepping up and supporting these types of things that happen here in Wayne County.
Yeah, could one of you talk about just some of the feedback you received from the judges who scored and read the essays?
Yeah.
We had quite a few judges that were impressed. We had judges that when they would score them, there was a rubric that the chamber gave us to use, and a lot of those judges had to read them once, wait till the next day, then go back, just because they just didn't know how to take some of it. They just were so impressed by the students. But they just said the topics were great. All of them want to be involved next year. They want to come back and judge again. So they were very impressed with our students.
Excellent, excellent. And you mentioned that the event's open to the public.
It is, yes.
So anybody can attend. And throughout this process, I guess, what are some of the lessons you learned along the way, and that you may change for next year or enhance?
Yeah, for me, I have been playing some of that supporting role and helping do some of the fundraising to make sure that that's a part of it. But Chantel has really been our internal cheerleader, and she's been on so many national calls with all of the other chambers across the country, and so I'm going to let her really speak to that.
We've been doing Zoom meetings every 2 weeks for the last 7 or 8 months. This has grown so much over the states that it's new to them. And so every week or every 2 weeks, we're learning something new. They gave us a playbook at the beginning, but a lot of that has changed. But they have been a great resource. We're able to reach out anytime. So I think next year, just having all this behind us 1 year, it'll just really help us. And I think once all these other students see other students receiving cash prizes, they're going to write an essay.
Yeah. No, that's excellent.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
And if it's anything like the School is Cool Every Day Counts program that we do, it's always fun to see the schools start to rise up, and they want to compete against each other. So, there's a little bit of school pride that goes into that too.
Yes.
I think that will grow along the way.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for talking about the National Civics Bee. And want to thank the viewers tonight for joining in, listening to the candidates, listening to the chamber, talking about National Civics Bee, and we hope everybody joins in for future forums. Thank you.